Well, hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Elizabeth, and you're on the third call in the Platinum Program Secrets program, how to price your program with integrity and accept payment with credibility. And I'm so excited. I am actually calling in from Playa del Carmen, Mexico today. So hopefully our connection is, good enough. And hopefully it's also the start of Mercury retrograde, so I hope that our connection stays true. That's my intention here. And I'm excited about the information I'm going to share with you on today's call. This is our third class. We are really moving right along here. We've covered compelling core offer. We have covered how to design your program. And today we are going to dive into pricing. I'm going to share with you how to price your program and also some really important logistical things about accepting payment. So when you think about platinum programs and price, it's very easy to focus on the number, like that high dollar amount. And platinum programs are at higher dollar amounts, right? This is platinum. But the importance of getting the investment and the payment details right really is about so much more than just, creating a windfall of cash, right? This is actually a very sacred energy exchange that's going on, and there's actually a lot going on underneath the surface that you may not be aware of. So why is price so important? Well, first of all, the price that you charge really sets an expectation and a standard. We know that high-end programs are about quality, and specifically really about creating incredible value. So there's an expectation and a standard here. And these kinds of fees really get attention. You may not realize it, but your fees are always saying something about you. And the question is, are they sending the message that you want, right? Your fees, your prices, especially when you increase your fees, it really sends a very clear message of credibility. And we all know that when something costs more, there's a perception in the mind that it's more valuable. Like it or not, people take it more seriously. People value it more. All right, so you want to be aware of this. Higher fees tell the world and your clients that you're really serious and that you expect your clients to be as well. So you can see that in one sense, the investment really sets the stage for your program, and it truly does. A higher investment means that your clients and you are both stepping into something significant. It really sets a tone. Also, how you handle your payments sets a very clear tone as well. It really sets the stage for the entire program. Again, it sets an expectation with your client. Everything from how you present the program to how you have a conversation to how you handle the payment, all of these things really set the stage and the tone and send certain signals. They really either make or break your credibility, truthfully. And they need to be in alignment with the idea that there is this step up, that this is a big deal, that this is a serious investment and, not just money, but an investment of time, energy, and attention. Also, this is something you probably don't think about, how you handle your payment creates a feeling of safety as well. And so here's what I mean. If you have all of your ducks in a row, right, you've got clearly outlined payments, an agreement, you have an assistant communicating with your clients, and running the payments, that goes a long way to making your clients feel safe, like they're going to be taken care of. And if you think about it, it's really a big deal to send someone a huge chunk of money, right, even if you know them and trust them already. So how you handle it will either make your client feel very good and reassured or send them into doubt. So if you've been really kind of loosey-goosey with your payment arrangements, you're going to see that this is an opportunity for a breakthrough. This is your chance to really clean up some stuff and stand in your value. And it's very important for handling problems later. If your client is pushing your boundaries early in the relationship with the payments, they're going to continue to do so, all right? So, again, you may have heard me use the phrase, an ounce of pre-framing is worth a pound of reframing. So really how you handle the investment, it's a big part of some of that reframe, okay? Now, I want to touch on something really quickly here before we dive in. I know all of you here are in this program, or if you're listening to this program after the live, after our live classes, you're here because you're really on board with increasing your fees and, packaging your services in this way. And I also know that one of the biggest challenges that really heart-centered entrepreneurs have with raising their fees is that it triggers that fear that many people have of being greedy, right? You feel kind of greedy, like, am I greedy to charge these fees? So I want to share with you really why, just to clear this up, if this is something that's going on for you, why you are not greedy to charge higher fees. Why is this actually a transformative thing to be offering these kind of programs at these kinds of fees? Now, you want to remember that clients are not investing in time. They're investing in results, personalized attention, and accountability to get it done. All right, we talked about that a lot. This is not an investment in time. This is an investment in a result. Also, keeping your fees low hurts your credibility and your reputation because people really do respect what they pay more for, and that's important because when we're in the business of transformation, we want people to take it seriously. We want people to step up to get what it is that they need, right, to get the outcomes that they want. And when your client steps up and invests in themselves and takes themselves seriously, they take you seriously, and this leads to better results. Also, and this is a huge, huge one, especially for coaches, healers, transformation professionals, those of us in the health and healing professions, it is not up to you to decide what someone can or cannot afford. And you really have no idea what their situation is. Even when you think you do, your eyes are deceiving you. Our eyes are deceiving us all day long, right? So you have no clue, and it's really not up to you, right? All you're doing is giving them a choice, and they can step in or not, right? Finally, clients aren't investing in you. They're investing in themselves through you, and that clients are actually really proud to pay for something. It's kind of weird. There's psychology here. Nobody brags that they have the cheapest coach or the cheapest, massage therapist or whatever. And they really will. Clients will really amaze you at their ability to get into action fast once they invest in a high-end program. It really is often the kick in the pants that people need to finally get that transformation that they want. So let's talk about the answer to the question you're secretly wondering about, okay? How much can I really charge? Have you ever actually thought that, right? How much can you really charge? Well, the answer is more than you think, and I want to talk about this a little bit, okay? Because, usually when people are setting their fees, what do? They go around and they look at what everyone else is charging, and they price their services based on, well, this is what the market will bear, like they assume that, or this is what people are paying, or this is what people are charging. Now, here's something important that you really want to get in touch with. When you are pricing your services based on looking at what other people do, you're actually really pricing your services based on their money consciousness. Underline that. When you're pricing your services based on what someone else is doing, you're choosing how to price your services really based on their money consciousness. And in marketing, okay, so in marketing and psychology, sort of sales and marketing psychology, there is a concept called price elasticity. Price elasticity. People think that there are set prices, again, because most of the time people look around at what everyone else is doing and they model. But the truth is that there's actually a high end and a low end for everything. And so you want to focus on value. So in other words, the price is elastic. It really is. It's like there's no set price. There's the high end and the low end, and you get to decide where you want to be. And the key is always to focus on value. And by value, and we've talked about this a lot so far, by value that includes the results that are possible, the cost of not doing this. I cannot stress this enough, the cost of not doing it. And we're right back to compelling core offer again. Other things that contribute to value, experience and ease of experience, all right? You want to study high-end clientele, and you'll notice that one of the things that they invest in is experiences, all right? So as a spirit-driven, heart-centered entrepreneur, you probably invest in experiences too. Spiritual retreats are about having an experience, travel, these kinds of things. Also, experience includes the ease of experience. When they work with you, what is that experience that they have? High level of service, right? We're talking about high level of service. Client care. Are their questions answered quickly? How are people treated on the phone? All those kinds of things. High-end clients are paying for attention and to be treated well, and you need to really pay attention to that. And no matter where you start with this or what your price is, you want to really pay attention and do everything you can, and you don't have to be perfect, but you do everything you can to give your clients a really smooth and easy experience. One of my mentors has a saying that I love. She says, value is perceived by the client. So value is perceived by the client, and pricing is perceived by you. Okay? You actually ultimately set the price. You ultimately set the fee. And clients really want a fee that they can justify. They want a fee that they can go, oh, all right, because we buy based on emotion, and then it's sort of backed up with fact, right? That's the way that our minds just work when it comes to investing in something, whether it's a stick of chewing gum or it's a high-end program. Clients want that price that they can justify. So what do you need to do, or what do you need to feel 100% confident standing behind your price? Because clients can tell when you don't really believe it. And, for me, the number one thing is to really know that it's what it's worth to them and what it's worth to you. Really get in touch with that. No pie in the sky, but really carry that line of thought through. What is it worth to them? And when it comes to pricing, you also really need to pay attention to what I call the feeling crappy barometer. In other words, does your price make you feel crappy? Are you this is too low, straight up? If you're not charging what you're worth, it feels icky, and you need to pay attention to that because it creates a contraction, and that's what your clients pick up on. And you might wonder why clients are, arguing with your discounted price. It's because it feels crappy. And remember that Platinum is about taking a strong stand. This is a step up. It's a step up for them, and it's a step up for you. So for you, it means not discounting, not giving things away, and instead focusing on valuing your time and expertise. So when I'm teaching clients how to choose their price, and we're going to go through a couple different things here today. When I teach clients how to choose their price, I'm going to have them walk through 3 steps, and I'm going to touch on them briefly here, and then there's a handout. And if you've been in some of my programs before, you may be familiar with this. And after, basically, you start with deciding your Platinum fee. You always start with the lowest price you will accept. And when you answer these questions, it's going to help you decide the lowest price that you will accept. So there's a handout called How to Price Any Program, Product, or Service with Integrity. And this handout has these 3 steps. The first step, and it's all questions, right? Actually, the first 2 are questions. The first question you want to ask yourself is, again, what's it worth to them? What's it worth to them? And the 4 areas that you want to look at are, what is the financial cost of not making a change? What is really the financial cost in dollars and cents of not making a change? And if you really think about it, and I gave you some tips on this in the core offer call, you can, what I call, bottom line this to anything, right? You really can't bottom line it. What is that financial cost of them staying stuck? What is the emotional cost of not making a change? Again, it's we want to see the hard numbers, but often that emotional cost is greater. That emotional pain that people are walking around with day in and day out that weighs on them, it's got a cost, right? And then the flip side, you want to explore the flip side. What is the financial return on investment of working with you? And there always is one, even if you have a soft or fuzzy service. There's always a financial return. Their problem goes away. They're spending less money, okay? And then what is the emotional return on investment of working with you? Now, a couple of tips on this. Ask your clients, right? Ask your client, at some place, sometime when you're coming from a place of service, before you're trying to sell anything, all of that, ask them what their challenges are. Ask them what their frustrations are. You can also just put yourself in your client's shoes. You can use your intuition and common sense as a starting point for this. And again, you want to focus on the results to your clients, the value of the results over time. What unfolds for them over time? You really want to take that into consideration. All right, so what's it worth to them? Also, you need to decide what's it worth to you. And you want to consider in what's it worth to you your time. Right now, you're not charging dollars for hours, But you really want to consider, how much time is this going to take for me to deliver? How much time is this going to take for me to deliver? And what is the lowest amount of money that I want to accept for that time? And then what's the highest price? Like, what's the highest point? What is your stretch point? Your fee is going to lie somewhere in between those two things. The lowest amount you'll accept that feels good, and the highest, your personal stretch point. And then you also want to consider your overhead and your costs. So, these programs, they don't have a lot of expenses relative to the amount of money that you're going to be charging, but you do want to consider your expenses. Like if you're having someone come in for a retreat day and you're paying for their hotel, or, you're putting on a retreat for a small group and you have to get a hotel room or hotel space, whatever it is, you really want to take that into account. And I like to shoot for having the expenses be no more than 20% of the entire program. So that's just me. You can decide, but you want to make sure that that's something that you feel comfortable with. All right? So what's the worst to you? And then you just pick a number. All right? You pick a number. That's what you do. It's like all this gets down to picking a number. But when you have what it's worth to them and what it's worth to you, all of a sudden you're picking a number from a much different energy. You're picking a number from an empowered spot, not, looking around at what everyone else is doing and picking a number based on somebody else's money consciousness. All right? So when you pick a number, you ask yourself, well, what's the first number that you think of? Whatever pops into your mind. And then what is the most that you can see yourself charging? Right? The lowest point and the stretch point. And your price is going to lie somewhere between those two. Okay? Now you want to settle on your new number, the new number that you really can be fully in integrity with and feel confident about. And sometimes that means raising your fee. Okay? Remember the ick factor. I've run into this to myself. It's like, I pick a number and it really is too low. Like I just don't feel good about it. Right? It also should be just outside of your comfort zone. And if you're focusing on results, it is going to likely be higher than you're used to. And it's got to be believable to you. All right? Just remember that really picking this lowest number that you'll accept, it really just gets down to picking a number. But when you have this information, you really are choosing that number from an empowered place based on facts rather than emotion and what others are doing. Okay? All right. So we just went through those 3 steps. You want to go through those 3 steps, and you decide on what is that lowest price that you will accept. And you need to know this, right? Because at a certain point, an investment gets too low and you get resentful. So you need to know what that is so you can create the rest of your fee structure. This brings us to the single biggest mistake you must not make when offering payment options and how to avoid it. And this tip alone is going to save you a boatload of frustration, okay? All right, so here's the mistake. Here's what happens. People will decide on their full pay price, and then they'll divide by 12 for their payment options. And that's not how you want to do it. When people are doing payments, the number is a little higher than it would be if they paid up front in full. And this is a good thing because, first of all, you really want to incentivize people to pay in full. One of my mentors likes to say, they're not paid unless the money is in the bank. And it's really, really true. On a payment plan, they haven't paid you entirely yet. And you also want to break the month-to-month thinking. They are not paying you month-to-month, okay? I want to be really clear about this. This is a payment plan for a program investment. It's a payment plan for a program investment, which is very different. Generally speaking, if someone is paying monthly, they're paying the equivalent of 2 additional months. General guideline, it doesn't have to be entirely like that. It might work out slightly different for you. But you want to remember that they're paying for, this is an investment for the full program. It's not like you're dividing things month per month. Now, another thing about the payment plan is you're going to want to strongly consider having the payment plan complete somewhere between, the halfway through the program or 2/3 of the way through the program, as opposed to going all the way to the end. Again, this is not a month-to-month arrangement. Some of this depends on what the economy is doing. The economy is starting to pick up again. When it was really flatlined there for a while, you had to extend the payment plans to make it work for people, and that's okay. But again, you want to remember that the payment plan is a payment plan on that investment, and you want that investment paid off ASAP, as quickly as possible. And one of the ways to do that is to have it not extend out through the entire program. All right? So back to paying in full. You really want to incentivize people for paying in full, and you do that by offering a savings. A savings. It is not a discount. And please, if you use the word discount, you need to stop. No more using the D word. My two least favorite phrases when it comes to money are discount and I can't afford it, because both of those are very disempowering. Like, who wants to be on a discount? I don't want to be on a discount. And you don't want your clients thinking about discounts. Discounts is like lack-based thinking. You don't want your clients thinking that way. This is very, very strategic, okay? All right. So when you determine your pricing, you're going to be determining three prices. You're going to be determining your full pay fast action price, your full pay price, and your payment plan. I'll say that again. Your full pay fast action price, your full pay price, and your payment plan. So people are getting a savings if they pay in full. They get an additional savings when they pay in full and make a fast action decision or an empowered decision, a quick decision. So how you make your full payment option a no-brainer for your potential clients is to offer that fast action savings. Savings, not discount. All right. So we'll talk a little more about this when we talk about launch, but for now I really want to give you the mindset. I feel abundant, very abundant offering fast action savings for two reasons. One, I truly believe that we serve people in the highest way when we support them in making a decision quickly. Nobody is going to take that quick decision if they weren't already ready to say yes. Right? No one's going to do it if they weren't already ready to do it. That's what people don't realize. People think, oh my gosh, with all this pressure and blah, 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 and the fast action decision is not going to work, quote unquote, on someone who's not already really ready to step in. The second reason why, is when people say yes and they pay in full, that's less marketing for you. You're that much closer to done when it comes to filling your program. It means there's one less conversation for you to have. It gets back to valuing your time. Would I rather fill a program in 10 conversations or 30 conversations? Even when there's shorter interviews, the choice is clear, and I'm thrilled to incentivize people to help them make that happen. Also, another mindset here, I truly believe, because fast action, it creates urgency and everything. I believe there is urgency. There is urgency in the world. There is urgency for people to get off their butt and to, get into doing whatever they need to be doing, meaning whatever their purpose is, whatever they're here to do, and, get over what's holding them back. I feel so passionately about this. So I've been here at a conference in Mexico as I speak, right, and there's one of the speakers, and she was making an offer from the stage, and she's just she actually said from the stage, now or whenever. You can do it now or whenever. And I understood where she was coming from. I understood her, and this is all, this is in alignment with her. I personally would never say that, now or whenever, because you know what? Whenever for someone could be another 2 years from now. And I personally am not willing to let someone sit in their crap for another 2 years. Like that? No. Okay? So I really feel strongly about this. You guys can tell. But it really is coming from this place of service. And you really have to decide, what that place is for you. When I give people a fast action or an empowered decision savings, I like to set everything up so that I can present that on the phone and make it be very good and feel very good and in integrity for them to make a decision right there. All right? And I do a lot. I set up a lot to make that happen. For other people, 24 hours is the window that they give, and that's fine. I've had clients try it both ways, and they see literally which way works better for their people, and they go with that. All right? But I really want you to get in the mindset that the empowered decision savings, the fast action savings, it's not manipulative. It is really there to help people move forward. All right? Okay, so let's walk through the basic pricing template, and then we'll double back in some specifics, okay? It's going to make more sense. So here's what you want to do. And I've got this in front of me here. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. Okay. So there is a handout in your handouts called Simple Template for Deciding Your Fee Structure. This is going to walk you through exactly how to create your payment plan, all right? So the first step we've already kind of done. You decide what is the lowest that you will accept. What is that lowest fee that you're going to accept? This is your full pay fast action price. This is the full pay price after that savings has been applied. That's the lowest, that's like the rock bottom, okay? So what is that number? Then you decide what is your powerful decision savings or your quick decision savings. This is going to vary depending on your package, but here's the concept. It needs to be something big enough to get attention. It needs to be significant. It needs to be, so it's like people go, oh, all right, that's actually really a big deal, right? So for a high-end program, it can be anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. And that's a lot because it needs to be attractive. And remember, you might be thinking, well, that's a huge difference, right, in two fees. If you're going to stand in the value of that fee at the higher price and the lower price, okay? It's actually not that much of a gap. Okay, so you decide what that powerful decision savings is. I usually settle on about $1,000 depending on what I'm doing. Then you determine your full pay investment. So it's very, very simple. The full pay investment, what you say to people on the phone, full pay, is that fast action price and the quick decision savings. So those two things together. Now, you can split the full pay into a deposit, and that deposit is going to be between 20 and 50% of the total and one remaining payment. Now, I wanted to share with you why you must charge a deposit. So this deposit thing is actually pretty important. There are two reasons why. Number one is client commitment. Client commitment. You need that deposit to be large enough so that they think twice about backing out. Simple, all right? Again, this is in service to them. Remember, this is platinum. It's a higher investment. It's a gulp. They're stepping into creating the change that they want. And people think about backing out because they get scared. They go, oh, my gosh, I can't do it now. I can't do it this time. That really is like the number one objection that people have is, can I really do this? Will this work for me? And so, a lot of times people put down the money, and then that fear kicks in. Like, can I really pull this off? All right? They're just in fear, and it's not of service to them to let them go into their fear. So that's one of the reasons why you charge a deposit. And number two, it's in service to you. All right? Really pay attention to this. It's in service to you. You are filling a program. You need to have some commitment as you get those spots filled. And when someone takes a spot and backs out, and this is we're talking about whether it's a group or private, that's a spot that you have to do more marketing for and that you have to fill again. More of your time and work to do that, right? Plus, that's revenue that you no longer have. So people are allowed to change their mind. People are allowed to change their mind, that's fine. But it's not okay for their changing of the mind to affect your income, to affect your business revenue. Okay? So that deposit is there for you and for them, and that's going to be between 20 and 50%. Usually on like a 6-month program, something like that, it's about 20% or 25%. Okay? All right, so you've got your full pay investment, and then you want to create your payment plan pricing, your payment plan pricing. What you want to do is to add an additional 15 to 20% for the payment plan. Now, this is ethical and it's expected, and the reason why is that you are financing them. You are financing them, okay? Huge, huge, huge. And when people are on payment plans, that's extra work for you. It's always extra work. You're going to be chasing down people when they're late on their payments. You're going to be chasing down, credit card numbers that have expired, all that stuff. So you're financing them, and that needs to be compensated, all right? So add an additional 15 to 20% for the payment plan. Then you decide on the deposit again. So what's that deposit? Again, between 20 and 50% of the total. And then you determine the balance. And you can use a quick decision savings with payments. You absolutely can. But you want to remember it's got to be applied to the balance and not the deposit. And I made this mistake in the beginning. I would apply the savings to the deposit. Don't do that. Apply the savings to the balance, all right, not the deposit, okay? All right, and then you create your full pay pricing. okay? The sort of the full pay price is the deposit, right? And then the balance. And then the balance if they take the Empower Decision Savings. So I'm going to walk you through an example here. And this is, you'll see this. It's all kind of abstract until you see the numbers. In this handout, we have a template, right, for you to plug in the numbers for this. And then we also have some examples. And these are actually really solid examples of pricing. You can actually just take these for your program and run with them, all right? They work very, very well. And, they're tried and true, and they're perfectly, they're where a lot of people start, okay? So for the first one, let's say the lowest price that you'll accept, and this, again, is in your handouts, is $49.97 or $5,000. And let's say you have a powerful decision savings of $1,000, then your full pay investment is $5,997. Simple, right? So when you're presenting your price, you say $5,997 or your investment, right? You can think of it as price, but it is always an investment. Don't say the P word either. You would say $5,997. And then your payment plan pricing, okay? Let's say that you add an additional $1,000 for the payment plan, and that would make your deposit, let's say it's $1,997, which is a great deposit, and then you have a balance of $5,000, so you would have a monthly payment of $1,000 for 5 months. See how that works? So they come into your program, they pay $1,997 as that deposit, and then they have 5 monthly payments of $1,000 each. Very simple. And your full pay pricing, again, the deposit would be $1,997, and the balance would be $4,000 if they were paying in full. Remember, $5,997. And if they took that quick decision savings, the balance would be $3,000, right? Because they get $1,000 off the balance if they, say yes during your fast action or your empowered decision savings period. All right? Okay. So that's the general process, and you will just, again, if you don't have the handouts in front of you, that's fine. Just take a look. It's going to be really simple and simple for you. It's very obvious when you see all these numbers plugged in. Okay? All right. So let's talk about payment options. Payment options. For anything over 90 days or so, you want to have 3 payment options. This is how I think of it. That full pay, that monthly or payment plan, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be monthly, but the full pay, the payment plan, and the quick decision savings. Now, with the VIP day, you either offer a full pay, so people actually pay for the whole thing in full, or they're paying a deposit and the balance. So the deposit secures their spot, and they need to have the balance paid off before the day. Before the day. The balance has to be paid off before the day. Super, super important. I require my VIP day clients to have that balance paid off a week before, okay, before we have the day. Okay, couple of bonus tips here. Depending on your market, try to get the numbers to end in 7. This is not a hard and fast rule, okay? Not a hard and fast rule. Don't sweat it. Check in. Sometimes I say that to people, and they're like, I'm not doing that. And that's fine. 7, this is a marketing thing. Numbers that end in 7 are somehow more comfortable for people to deal with for whatever reason. All right, so numbers that end in 7. Always use the term investment and savings instead of price and discount. Investment instead of price, savings instead of discount. Why? Well, because working with you is an investment, and you're not available at a discount. Really, really matters. This is a subtle shift in your mindset and your wealth consciousness that's going to make all the difference in the world for you. You need to stop thinking about discounting and pricing and all that. Like, you want to be thinking about investment. Working with you is an investment. Also, you always want to include the option to split payment across 2 credit cards. Really, really important. People are still cash flow crunched. A lot of people can make it work when you accept payment in multiple ways, especially at these higher investments. People might not have the room on 1 credit card, but they have it on 2 or even 3. All right? Remember, you use that quick decision savings with payments, but it has to be applied to the balance, not the deposit. And, again, remember that it's a savings. And also, always stick to your payment plan. This is your payment plan. Rather than letting someone else create the payment plan, this is a boundaries thing. You stick to your payment plan. So let's talk about what you're going to want to do to make taking payment for your program really easy and credible. And I have another handout here for you with simple tips for making platinum payments easy, profitable, and credible. All right? Okay. So remember, the payment plan is a courtesy from you to your clients. They're investing in a program as opposed to paying month to month. That's the first thing. Now, you also want to have a merchant account. Really important. Have a merchant account. If you don't have a merchant account and you're in the U.S., I recommend Practice Pay Solutions. Practice Pay Solutions. And they're at practicepaysolutions.com. They are great. They totally understand our industry. They are a payment processor for coaches, therapists, service-based professionals like us, and they really understand internet marketing. They understand online launches, all that stuff, which is really important. Okay, a lot of payment processors don't get that, and they can hold your funds and they get freaked out and all that. So Practice Pay Solutions. Now, you do want to move beyond PayPal. I know that some of you have been using PayPal, and PayPal is great. And actually, I will just say this with a caveat. The first time I gave this training, PayPal did not offer, credit card merchant services. In other words, if you wanted to accept a credit card through PayPal, you had to go through their site and do all that. I think now you can actually get a merchant account through PayPal. I'm not sure, but you may be able to. I wouldn't do that. I would get my merchant account through Practice Pay, again, because they know us, they know our industry, they know who we are. It's really, really easy. They're great to work with. But anyway, you may be able to get a merchant account through PayPal. What I am talking about is the PayPal link, okay? You need to move beyond, giving people PayPal links. It's fine to start, but you get out of that as fast as you can. And a big one is for your credibility. I love PayPal. I'm grateful for PayPal. Their security stuff kind of gets up my nose from time to time because they make it hard. But, they're great. I accept so much money through them. It's, blessings to PayPal. And I do offer it when I'm offering, when I'm doing online launches. But there's something about a merchant account, like having the ability to accept credit cards that says you're a real business. And even though PayPal has been around for, 12 years or something like that, there are still people who don't trust PayPal. I know it's weird, right? But you're dealing with people. Not everybody likes to use PayPal. And you also want to ask yourself, what would $1 million business owner do? Or what would a six-figure business owner do? Or a multi-six-figure business owner do? Would she have PayPal or would she have a merchant account? All right? Huge, huge for your credibility mindset shift, right? Okay. Another thing that you want to, another reason to shift away from PayPal is because, like all processors, they have a fraud department, and they often look at coaching services as high risk. They look at coaching, they look at what we do as high risk. And I know of more than one horror story of PayPal holding back funds, okay? Not unusual. Now, another one is because of client commitment. This is huge. When you are accepting payment, you want to process that deposit as quickly as possible, all right? This is not going to happen this is not going to happen if you're sending them a PayPal link after the conversation. That's not a platinum experience. And also what it does is it leaves you waiting. And you're like, are they going to pay it? Are they going to, click on the link and pay me my money? Are they coming in, Are they in the program or not? No, you don't want that. You are in control of the payment. All right? So you want to have a merchant account. People can also send you checks. They can do wire transfers for large amounts. That's just fine. But for the deposit, you want to have a credit card, and you're going to need a merchant account. Now, another thing that you want to have is an enrollment form. There's a sample in the documents for this session, and there's also an example enrollment form from one of my earlier programs. So we've got two. I've given you two so far. In the Get Started Kit, there is my Leverage and Leadership letter, and there's an enrollment form in there. And then I gave you an example of an enrollment form from one of my earlier programs that's in the handouts for this particular class, okay? Now, I would not use this now You can see my latest agreement in the Get Started kit, but I did use it when I got started. You'll see there's a vast difference in the legalese between the two, okay? And I wouldn't use this now, but I did. I used it when I got started, and I wanted to give you that choice. Now, even if you model this to start, really even if you model either one, I want to be really clear about this. I am not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant, none of that. You want to have your own agreements, and you want to have your attorney review them. You do. You want to have an attorney. Again, this is about mindset. And I'll tell you, it's really, especially when you've got my models to start with, it's not going to take an attorney a whole lot of time or investment to come up with an agreement, all right? And I actually got these from my own mentor, and I showed them to my attorney, and he changed a bunch of stuff. It was actually really funny. He changed some stuff. But it was just a couple $100s to get that done. And then there was, it's my agreement. And huge mindset shift. You want to have that. You also want to, you want to know what's in that agreement. You want to fully understand, what's going on. It's really important, and your attorney can explain it to you, okay? All right, so here's why you want to use an enrollment form and this agreement, okay? Number one, it shows the merchant account that the client has authorized the payment. That means you have permission to charge their card, really important. So you can always go to the merchant account and say, yes, I have permission to charge this card. Especially when you're just getting started with the merchant account, you're going to have limits on the merchant account. And you're going to want to work with the merchant account to get those limits raised as quickly as possible. And when you show them that you have this agreement, this professional agreement, and it's signed and ready to go, that goes a long way to their confidence, right? Now also, as we talked about earlier, it sets a very clear tone for the rest of your relationship. It sets a tone of credibility. It also sets the expectation. This is a program, and they're responsible for paying in full. Super important, okay? Now, you always want your agreement to have, or to state very clearly that they're liable for the fees of the entire program. And I've had to come back to this more than once. I've had all kinds of people say all kinds of things. Bottom line is, when they sign that agreement, they're liable for the fees of the entire program. Also, the agreement protects you both. And again, remember, we lose sight of this sometimes in the work that we do and kind of the day-to-day operations of being in business. But you are running a business. You are running a business, okay? People backing out, it affects your income. This is about protecting your revenue stream. Well, that's the business reason, and, of course, honoring their commitment, keeping them engaged and keeping them in the program, because only good things come out of them being in the program. All right. You also want to have an assistant running your payments. Cannot stress this enough. An assistant runs your payments. Or, now I have, in my business manager does it. I suggest that you have one person in your organization other than you who's got access to the shopping cart. And that way, who can run payments. And that way it's very clear who's doing it. There's no confusion over who's in the cart and who's not, right, that kind of thing. So in my business, it's my business manager. If you don't have a business yet, if you don't have an assistant yet, you have a business. If you don't have an assistant yet, if you don't have a business manager yet, okay, slow down, Elizabeth. If you don't have a business manager yet, it may be your assistant, right, but one person. So important. Again, you can see how all of this is about up-leveling, right, and you were talking about how all these details about payment, they're important, right? And it's so important for your mindset and how you set the tone and the credibility and all these things. This is another one of those subtle things. Remember, you are the divine feminine leader. You are the mentor, the coach, practitioner, the business owner. You're not the banker. That's not your role. And it's important for you to stay in your role. Stay in your role in your business, okay? And this is one of the subtle things that you can do. One of the small things makes a huge difference, all right? Also, and I really want to stress this, payment stuff takes an enormous amount of time. You don't realize it, but it takes an enormous amount of time. You're going to see, again, you've got declines. You've got to run after people who decline on their payments. You need to check in with people where their payments are. You need to have conversations about payments. Sometimes people's credit cards expire. All these different things come up, and it will totally chew up your life. I'm serious. Like, I remember when I had I was just getting started, getting team in place, and I was delegating things, and I was really hesitant to give up this piece. I was hesitant. I was like, oh, no. And I remember one of my first platinum clients had the same experience too. And very quickly I was like, I just can't do this. Like, my whole day is spent on payment stuff. No. All right, so that's another thing. Enormous amount of time, and you don't want to be taking that time. Now, I understand that this is a stretch. It's a stretch. It's an expression of trust. So you have to hire someone that you trust. And the sooner you do that, the quicker you'll be able to grow. And again, I recommend having only one person on your team handling the payments. And this isolates access in case of any trouble. Makes it really, really clear, who's doing what. It was either you or the one person. All right? So let's talk a little bit more about how to work with your merchant account. Now, when you open up an account, they're going to ask you for two limits. They'll ask you for the average monthly volume. So the average monthly, how much are you on average going to be taking in? And then the average transaction size. All right, the average. So what's the average of the transaction size that you make? All right. When you're working with your merchant account, you're establishing like a credit kind of relationship with them, and this is the start of that. And actually, now that I'm speaking this out loud, I think they've got one more number, which is like the high average, right? What's on a high average month? What is it? Anyway, there are these numbers, these limits that get set, and you want to set those as high as possible. High as possible when you're opening up your merchant account. And then you want to be working with your merchant account to raise them, okay? So here's how they look at it. They look at it like they're giving you a loan. And really what they're concerned about is chargebacks. They're concerned about chargebacks. So if someone decides to charge back the card, to void the payment or whatever, that means that they're actually going to come and take it out of your bank account. And if it's not in your bank account, the merchant account has to cover it. So there's a risk there, right? There's a risk there for them. And so they're concerned about it. It's part of, they're managing their business. So you want to work with them, and you want to be in great communication. As I said, Practice Pay Solutions, they know our industry. They know coaching and mentoring and therapists and practitioners. These are the people that they serve, and they also really understand internet marketing, okay? So they're good. They get it. And you also want to be in great communication with them. I always let them know when I think I'm going to be having an increase. I let them know when I'm having a launch. It's funny, when I first was starting out, and really all the way up until last year, I was just so vigilant. Every time I did anything, I would just tell them. And they appreciated it. It's like, hey, it's much better to tell them than not to, okay? So let them know if you're going to be having an increase, if you're going to be having a high charge, if you're going to be having, a higher than normal month. And even if your limits are low to start, so I want to make sure I make this really clear, even if, those limits are low, and they actually keep them pretty low to start, I'll be honest. They'll keep them really, really low, or they'll ask you to keep them low. You'll put them high, and then they'll bring them down, whatever. There's a little negotiation dance that goes on, but just be persistent and be polite, and you're totally going to get, the limits that you need. I have taught this model to I don't know how many people, and, not a lot, but there's a percentage of people that have, merchant account shenanigans in the beginning, and it always gets resolved. That's just what I want to stress. It always, always gets resolved. So just work with them. Communicate with them. Give them what they need, and it'll be all good. All right? Now, also, what will often happen is you'll need to charge something. If you're just opening a merchant account, you may need to charge something that's higher than your limit, and that's fine. Just talk to them and find out what you need to do in order for them to allow it. And usually that means your agreement. So if you have a signed agreement that the client has authorized, the chances of a dispute is actually very, very low, all right? And they see that, and they're like, okay, no problem. Another thing that they like to see, this is a tip for you, they like to see that you have a high bank balance on a regular basis. They like to see that you have a high bank balance. And that's so they know that you're going to be able to handle the chargebacks, okay, that you can cover those potential chargebacks. Now, chargebacks are very rare when you do things this way and you have great client care. You want people reaching out to you, all right? You want people reaching out to you and handling it with you instead of going to the credit card company, all right? And so when you've got, when people are reaching out to you and they have an issue and you're responding to them, people aren't going to charge back. That's how you avoid chargebacks. I've only had a few chargebacks in my entire business career, so to speak, and all of those, or my coaching business, and all of those chargebacks, they actually came from this very weird fraud thing that happened. I couldn't even explain it. Like someone got on one of my products and, bought my products like 3 times and then did a chargeback. And I was like, what on earth are they getting out of that? Like, no idea. Anyway, so chargebacks, when you do things like this, they happen very, very rarely. All right? Okay. All right. And now on the bank balance thing, one last thing here. Don't freak out about it. Like, I understand you get, cash flow goes up and down. When you're in business, it goes up and down, especially when you're starting out. Just be aware of it. And it's another real incentive to keep those bank balances high and to be slowly increasing them as you go along. No big whoop. Okay? All right. Tons of info. Wow. Let's talk about when to give your fee and when not to give your fee. All right? When to give your fee and when not to give your fee. Now, the time to give your investment is after you've presented your program and you've built a really solid case for the value. Now, for most of you, this is going to be in a one-on-one conversation after you've been talking to them for a while, after you've established what their challenges are, what they want, whether it's a fit for them, and you've invited them to be part of your program. Notice I said after you've invited them. Right? It's not automatically a match, right? You want to have the mindset that you are choosing them as opposed to hoping that they'll hire you. You are choosing them for your high-end program because the high-end program is an experience for them and for you. All right. So we're going to be talking about launch in the next class, and I'm going to be sharing a couple different ways to do it. Now, in either case, so no matter how you launch or you're getting people, into conversation, you always want to establish the value of the program before you discuss the investment. All right, you're going to be talking about what it's worth to them, what their challenges are, what the cost is, all that stuff. You're going to be establishing really clear value before you get to that investment. All right? There's always a couple of exceptions to this. I remember listening to one mentor talk, and her viewpoint was, well, I want people to know how much it costs to work with me. Different psychology and totally valid. For most people, though, not giving your price is the way to go, and the reason why is it can scare people off before they've had a chance to see the value. And here's another important point, another thing for you to really get, is that all things considered, the investment or the price, it doesn't matter as much as other things. It always seems so important. Oh, my gosh, the price seems so important. But for high-end clients, and frankly, everybody, you really want something, it's not the only criteria, and it's not even the most important criteria. It is, however, a very easy way for someone to just say, oh, that's too expensive, when they haven't seen the value. All right? So, when you are doing these programs and you're filling them in this way, where you have the application and people are getting interviewed, people aren't going to be asking you, well, what's the price? You get that a lot less. Sometimes you do get it. And sometimes, if you're doing the interview process, the screening process, and you do not have the price in your application, your invitation letter and your application, people will ask, what's the investment? And you can simply say, I'm so happy to share that information with you. We're going to talk about it in our interview because I want to make sure that this program is a fit for you. Because if it's not a fit for you, the price doesn't really matter or the investment doesn't really matter. So you can say something like that. And you'll notice the giving language. I'd be happy to share that with you. I would love to share that with you. Once we have our interview, I'll share the investment with you then so we can determine that it's a fit for you. Really, really simple. Okay. Also, just a classic question. I want to make sure I address this. Do you or don't you put the investment on the website? I would not put the investment on the website, okay, generally speaking. There are some exceptions to that, but I wouldn't put it, the question is, are you going to put it in your letter or not? Are you going to put it in your letter? And there's pros and cons. There's times where it makes sense to do it. There's times where it really doesn't. For most of the people, and I'll talk more about that in the launch call, for most of the people on this call right now in this program, it would not make sense to put the investment in the letter. Okay? All right, tons of info here. Let me go. We covered a lot in a really short period of time, and because I am calling in from Mexico, we're going to skip Q&A today, but we'll have plenty of time for Q&A in the next call. And as I am coming on back home here, I'll be on the getting caught up on our Facebook group as well. You can post your questions there. So let me go ahead and give you your assignment. In the last class, you designed your program. Woohoo! And your assignment for this call is to decide on your payment amount and terms. Really, really simple. You've got some sample enrollment forms there. So decide your fee structure if you haven't already. Maybe some of you have jumped the gun a little bit. That's fine. And decided your payment structure already. If that's the case, then go back and look at it again, okay, with all of this information and all of these mindset shifts that you received here on this call. Now, I want to give you a really important lifestyle tip, okay, lifestyle design, owning your value tip. Instead of coming at this from the perspective of what will they pay, that's often the default place people go. Well, what are they going to pay for this? You want to shift your thinking. You want to ask yourself, how much do you want to make? How much do I want to make? That's the question you ask yourself. And then you work backward. How much do you want your time to be worth? And then you ask yourself, okay, what do I have to do in order to charge that amount? What kind of value would I have to provide? Total different mindset shift. What is it that I want to make? And then what do I have to do to charge that amount? What kind of value would I have to provide? Your mind can just come up with so many cool, exciting possibilities that you hadn't even considered when you ask yourself that question. Now, I have one more real quick assignment for you. No big deal. But this is to help you get ready for the next class. In the next class, we're going to be talking about how to launch and enroll your program. And I want you to take a look at the enrollment letter, all right? The enrollment letter, as you know, is a special letter that is an invitation to your program. It's got all the information about the program. It's also about your clients, and who they need to be the right fit. So before the next class, if you haven't already, I'm going to ask you to check out two things. One is the enrollment letter worksheet. All right, so check out that worksheet. It lays it all out for you step by step, all parts of the enrollment letter, and that is in your Get Started Kit. So check that out before our next class. And then the second thing that you want to look at is my letter for leverage and leadership. So also in your Get Started Kit, there's a letter for the Leverage and Leadership Program, and you'll see how, I translated those principles of the enrollment letter worksheet into the Leverage and Leadership letter. It's one of my favorite letters I've ever written, I have to say. So check that out. You're going to get more examples. I'm going to give you a lot more other letters to model in our next session on launch. So for now, just check out Leverage and Leadership. Follows the template pretty closely, and it's a really, really good letter. All right. So be sure to check those out before our next call. Okay, everybody, that completes our call today. It's been such an honor to share space with you, and I can't wait till we have a little more interaction in the next class. And until then, remember to do your assignments, check in on the Facebook group. Be thinking about, too, if you haven't already, and I know many of you have been, but who are you going to reach out to? Who are going to be some of the people that you're going to connect with to offer your program to? Because I want to see you start getting clients ASAP. I know some of you already have, which is phenomenal. So be thinking about that as well. And, all right, that's it. We're going to complete. All of my love to you. And until next time, bright blessings and massive, massive success.